Here's something that might surprise you. Most retirement advice warns about running out of money. But for disciplined savers who've accumulated over $500,000 or even $1 million or more, I see a completely opposite problem that's far more common and often more costly. It's not overspending that's robbing these retirees of the life that they've worked 30 to 40 years to build. It's actually underspending. I'm Tony Matheson, a certified financial planner and CFA charter holder with over 25 years of experience guiding families through retirement. And today, I'm going to reveal why being too frugal in retirement might be the biggest financial mistake you never knew you were making. In this video, I'll show you the 3 hidden forces that push successful savers towards excessive frugality, the real cost of underspending in terms of missed experiences and ironically higher lifetime taxes, and most importantly, how to give yourself permission to actually enjoy the wealth you've built without the guilt or fear. Chapter 1, the underspending epidemic among wealthy retirees. Let's start with some eye-opening research from 2025. A groundbreaking study by David Blanchett and Michael Fink at the Retirement Income Institute analyzed actual spending patterns of retirees. What they discovered was stunning. Retirees spent about 80% of their lifetime income sources, like Social Security and pensions. But when it comes down to their retirement savings, those 401ks and IRAs they spent decades building, they only spend about half, around 40 to 50%. Think about that for a moment. These are people who saved diligently, did everything right, and now have substantial nest eggs. Yet they're leaving more than half of their available resources sitting untouched. For a typical 65-year-old couple, the average withdrawal rate is just 2.1% of their savings. That's less than half the traditional 4% rule, and well below the 5% that recent studies suggest is safe. Here's what really shocked me. The same research found that converting savings to guaranteed income sources could boost consumption by 80%. That means retirees with guaranteed income from sources like annuities spend twice as much as those with equivalent portfolios who don't have that security. I've seen this pattern repeatedly over 25 years of working with clients. Successful professionals come to me with 1 million, sometimes 2 million or more saved for retirement. They've been incredibly disciplined savers their entire careers, but when it's finally time to enjoy that wealth, they can't flip the switch. They continue living like they're still in accumulation mode, watching their accounts grow while their health and energy slowly decline. Chapter 2, the 3 hidden forces driving excessive frugality. So why does this happen? Let me share with you the 3 psychological forces that I see pushing retirees towards underspending, even when they can clearly afford to spend more. The first force is what I call the fear of outliving savings. It's the number one concern I hear from new clients. What if I live to 95? What if there's another market crash? Or what if healthcare costs explode? These are valid concerns. But here's what the data is actually showing. According to research highlighted in a November 2025 study by Alvarez and Marshall Financial Services, this anxiety is often disconnected from reality. The typical retiree, following even a conservative 4% withdrawal rate, ends up with more than double their starting principal after 30 years. 2/3 of retirees never even touched their principal. The second hidden force is what I call saver identity. Think about it. You've spent 30 or 40 years being rewarded for saving and punished for spending. Every paycheck, you saw that 401k contribution come out. Every annual statement showing growth felt like validation. Your identity became tied to being a saver, someone who defers gratification. Now suddenly in retirement, you're supposed to become a spender. It feels wrong. It feels reckless, even when the numbers say it's perfectly safe. The third force is market anxiety. This one is particularly insidious because markets are always giving us reasons to worry. I pulled up a timeline of major financial events over the past 16 years. The global financial crisis in 2008, the European debt crisis, Brexit, the pandemic, banking crisis, inflation spikes. There's always something happening in the world that makes spending feel risky. But here's the truth I've learned after guiding hundreds of families through all these events. There is never a perfect time to spend. Uncertainty isn't a bug in the system, it's actually a feature. It's always going to be there. Chapter 3, the real cost of underspending. Let's talk about what underspending actually costs you, because it's not just about missing out on vacations. The costs are much deeper and more permanent than most people realize. First, there's the cost of missing your go-go years. Retirement researchers break retirement into 3 phases. The go-go years, typically your 60s and early 70s, when you have the health and energy for active travel and adventure. Then the slow-go years, when you're more content staying closer to home. And finally, the no-go years, when health limitations significantly restrict your activities. Here's the painful truth. Those go-go years are finite. They don't last forever. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with who said, we'll do that big trip next year, only to have health issues arise that made it impossible. The time to climb Machu Picchu or walk the streets of Paris or take that multi-generational family vacation is now, not someday. The second cost is family experiences. Let me share a hypothetical scenario that illustrates what I see often. Imagine a couple in their late 60s with 1.5 million saved. They could easily afford to take their children and grandchildren on a once-in-a-lifetime family reunion vacation. The memories would last forever. But instead, they watch their accounts grow, worried about the expense. Then in their 80s, after they pass away, their children inherit an estate that's 3 times larger than what the couple actually needed. The family got the money, but they missed out on those irreplaceable experiences together. The third cost, and this one surprises most people, is higher lifetime taxes. When you underspend in retirement, you're forcing yourself into a tax trap at age 73 when required minimum distributions kick in. Current IRS rules require you to start withdrawing from traditional IRAs and 401ks at age 73, and that age increases to 75 in 2033. If you've been underspending for years, you could have a massive balance that forces large RMDs, pushing you into higher tax brackets precisely when you have less flexibility to manage it. Let me give you a specific example. Let's say someone has $2 million in traditional IRA accounts and faces RMDs at 75. Based on IRS life expectancy tables, that's over $81,000 in required withdrawals in the first year alone. That income might push them from the 22% federal tax bracket into the 32% tax bracket. Over their lifetime, that could mean paying hundreds of thousands more in taxes that could have been avoided with strategic earlier spending or Roth conversions. Chapter 4, the emotional toll of perpetual scarcity. Beyond the financial costs, there's an emotional toll to living in perpetual scarcity mode that I see taking a real toll on my clients' well-being. You worked your entire career for freedom. Freedom to spend how you want, with whom you want, doing what you want. But if you're constantly anxious about money, despite having plenty, you're not really free. I remember working with a client, a retired engineer who had over $2 million saved. He would agonize over spending $50 on dinner out with his wife. Meanwhile, his portfolio is growing by $100,000 a year on average. The math made no sense. The anxiety was robbing him of his joy in his retirement years. Research from Wharton professor Olivia Mitchell emphasizes that when essential expenses are covered by stable income sources, retirees feel more comfortable using their remaining savings for discretionary spending. When you lack that foundation of security, even substantial wealth doesn't provide peace of mind. Chapter 5, how an income floor gives you permission to spend. So how do you break free from this underspending trap? The most powerful strategy I found is building what's called an income floor. An income floor means having your essential expenses covered by guaranteed income sources that don't fluctuate with markets or depend on your portfolio balance. Social Security is the foundation of most people's income floor. By delaying Social Security until age 70, you can increase your benefit by 24% compared to claiming at your full retirement age. That higher guaranteed income creates more breathing room for discretionary spending from your portfolio. Beyond Social Security, pensions provide income floor coverage for those fortunate enough to have them. And for those without pensions, strategic use of fixed income, or in some circumstances, even annuities, can convert a portion of your savings into guaranteed lifetime income that covers your baseline needs. Here's why this matters psychologically. When you know your core expenses, your housing, your food, utilities, and healthcare are covered no matter what happens in the markets, you can spend from your remaining portfolio with confidence. You're not risking your security by taking that trip or helping your grandchildren or upgrading your home. You're using money that's truly discretionary. Chapter 6, the guardrails approach to confident spending. Once you have your income floor established, the next step is implementing what I call a guardrails approach to portfolio withdrawals. This gives you the flexibility to adjust spending based on market conditions while staying within safe boundaries. Here's how it works in practice. Let's say you have $1 million in invested assets beyond your income floor, and you've determined a safe baseline withdrawal rate of 4%, or $40,000 per year. Instead of treating that as a rigid number, you set upper and lower guardrails. Maybe your upper guardrail is 5%, and your lower guardrail is 3%. When markets are strong and your portfolio grows, you can increase your spending up to that 5% level. When markets are down, you dial back toward 3%. This approach gives you permission to enjoy good years while protecting you during inevitable downturns. You're not rigidly locked into a single number, regardless of circumstances. Instead, you're dynamically managing your spending to match your portfolio's health. Morningstar's 2025 research on safe withdrawal rates emphasizes this flexibility. They found that starting with a 3.7 withdrawal rate provided a 90% success rate over 30 years. But that rate can be adjusted annually based on portfolio performance. The key is building in flexibility from the start, not discovering you need to cut spending during a crisis. If you've recognized yourself in this video, if you've been living in scarcity mode despite having substantial savings, I want you to know there's a better way. You don't have to spend your retirement years anxious about money you'll never actually spend. As a financial advisor with over 25 years of experience and both the CFP and CFA designations, I've helped hundreds of families navigate this exact transition from accumulation to confident spending. If you'd like a personalized retirement assessment where we analyze your specific situation and show you exactly how much you can safely spend, I invite you to download our free retirement planning guide or schedule an intro call with my team at Slalom Wealth Management. Visit the link in the description below. Let's work together to make sure you actually enjoy the retirement that you've worked so hard to build.